Hey guys, how's it going? I thought that I'd take today to go through one of my old ballet journals with you guys. When I did my video on ballet journals and how I think these can totally skyrocket your improvement, I had somebody ask if I would go through some of my ballet journals and just show you what kind of things I wrote down and how I laid them out, which they're not very organized at all, and you can really do whatever you want with ballet journals. They are your canvas, but I thought it would be fun to go through some of my old ones because I know I have some gold in here. Let's check it out. I have a little correction here that says, in variations, think of your chaîné starting on the and rather than the one to give yourself that extra half count at the end. So it's interesting. Here we have, use your toes with you jump. Pretty feet, but I'm just using my arches. Articulate the toes. That was a correction that I got for quite a while, for a long time, because I think my feet are more flexible than they are strong naturally, and so it took me a long time to figure out how to actually really use my feet. Fouettes, finish turn, that's all capitals. Completely front before opening the leg. So you know that's like when you're doing a fouette turn and you're opening, if you do a rond de jambe into the fouette, what I would be doing is I would be opening it earlier and earlier, so then I wasn't getting to the corner and making a full turn before going into my next foot. At bar, I'm too far back, feel too forward, shoulders over hips. So what I'm saying there is that I got the correction that I'm standing too far back, and then teacher said that I should feel like I'm too far forward and really work to have those shoulders in line with my hip. Here's a fun quote. It says, if all food was hard or music was one note, life would be terribly boring. You have to have levels and texture changes to your dancing. Fast, slow, sharp, melty. And now I did not attribute this one when I wrote it down, but it sounds like Larry Long to me. I feel like I can almost remember the class where he said that. Here's another quote I have that is also not attributed, but I remember who said this one as well. It's funny, I feel like writing things down just helps you cement that memory, because I distinctly remember this class as well. It says, when you move, you are already telling a story because you are human. There is a story in your standing there. Give them your story. Help them experience what it feels like to be you, what it feels like to be big, to be high, and to be powerful. And that was Laura Wade at Lucanti's. I remember that class. We were doing Adagio, and I just really loved that quote, so I wrote that down. This is bold. It is an art. People only come back because of the connection they feel with the dancer, and that's your responsibility. Research, ask questions, interviews, old reviews. Familiarize yourself with the music. Have a character, tell a story. Technique becomes easier when there's a reason behind it. And that's so true. And that was something that I think is so fun when you continue to dance. Once you get through the overwhelm that happens kind of when you start ballet, especially if you start at an older age. Once you start to get that base of technique, the fun of it is the art of it, and it is so much fun to explore what you can tell through your body, and it's so fun to research all the history of this art. It's such a rich history, and I agree with that people only come back because of the connection they feel with the dancer. Sometimes I feel like nowadays there's a lot of the wow factor of the technique and the flexibility and the gymnastics of it, but really to be moved by a performance, by what the dancer put out there on the stage, that's why people come back. I mean, and there's nothing like it, you know. Along that same vein, I have a quote from Julie Nakagawa from DanceWorks Chicago. And I remember this conversation too. This was after a class with DanceWorks, and in the dressing room she was talking to me, and what I wrote down is, how are you going to make good great? Channel your 4-year-old self. Be creative. Don't cast judgments. Take an architecture tour. Watch football. Paint. Learn to sew. Take pictures. Make poetry. Visit a museum. A million ways to make an arabesque. And I remember she was just giving all those suggestions, just talking about going out and experiencing art and creating art and different kinds of art. So not just ballet. I think sometimes as ballet dancers, we can get very stuck in just working on our craft and staying in the studio and perfecting our pliés and tendus. And there is so much to be learned there, and there's so much to be done in the studio, but there's so much more to do to it. And I think at that point in my journey, I was really stuck in doing things correctly. And I was, really always trying to be precise and correct. And what I heard from a lot of different teachers in different ways was to loosen up a little bit and to let go of the control a little bit and really make art and enjoy making art, and to find the moments and the different ways to make an arabesque, right? So you think it's very specific, it's very precise. There's one correct way to do an arabesque, but there are so many different ways to get there. And I remember when she was telling me this being like, what does watching football or taking an architecture tour have to do with dancing? Like, I'm not going to get better unless I am dancing all the time. I need to be in the studio. I can't be learning, to sew or something like that. That's going to take away time from my training. And looking back on it, it makes total sense to me, and I totally see what she's saying here. And I really appreciated that I had teachers that cared about me enough to sit down and have those conversations with me. And definitely now when I watch my 5-year-old and my 2-year-old dance, I totally see it. Their movement is so natural, and it's captivating to watch them, and it might be partially because they're my children, but it's also just because they're enjoying themselves and they're not judging themselves at all. They're not, editing themselves. They're just dancing, and it is really fun to watch. Here I have a list of things I want to try. So I have développés on point in the center, penché on point here, rond de jambe on point, meaning a grand rond de jambe on point, traveling jetés across the floor, switching legs, and a step over attitude en dehors, so an outside step over turn with your leg and attitude. Here I have some modern choreography, and you see the little tiny stick figures and arrows that don't really make much sense to me now, but at the time they really helped. Here I have just a little rundown of a coppelia variation. Again, just the act of writing it down really helped me to cement it in my brain and remember it. After I take a class, I would just go and write down different things that stood out to me or that spoke to me or that really I wanted to remember and to stick with me. Here in Patty's class, it says, "People are directed where you look with your gaze. Don't look at the floor. Make them confident in you. Free up your fingers like sparklers. Don't let them fuse together." And that has always stuck with me. She used to always say flingers because when I was doing allegros or moving, I would put tension in my hands, then my hands would get stiff. So she would say fling, like flingers. And I like that image of having your fingers be like sparklers, so energy is shooting out of them. I hope that you enjoyed that. If that was interesting to you at all, please let me know in the comments below. Let me know if there's any quote or exercise in particular that stood out to you. I'd love to hear about it. And then if this is something, that you'd like to see more of, I have tons and tons of these notebooks, and I'd love to share them with you. I hope you got some ideas to start your own ballet journal. Definitely my biggest recommendation is start a ballet journal. Just start writing things down. If you feel like you don't know what to write down, just write down anything. It can be anything. a quote, a combination, a correction, something you want to try, a goal, something you accomplished, really anything, and you'll see the difference that it makes. So thank you so much for watching. Please like this video if you liked it and subscribe for more videos like this. I love you guys, and I will see you next time.